much, my best friend in the whole wide world, for arriving today, letting us record in your beautiful home that you purchased yourself and remodeled. There's a lot of directions we can go. And I'm just going to ground into my body right now because I'm so excited. Let's start with how long we've known each other.
28 years.
28 years. We just had to do the math before we did this recording. I met you, Terri, when I was 17, briefly at a casting. And then I ended up going to San Francisco for a couple of jobs. You had already been there. And our very good friend, Diana Yellow, had reached out to me. I'm not sure if she reached out to you too.
She did. Yeah.
And she was like, Stacey, there is this incredible woman that I think you will totally get along with. And we connected in San Francisco.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
I know. I think
it's been like 28 years.
Yeah. And then we just started doing everything together.
Everything.
Yeah. Or we'd go outside of the city and just go do like Target runs together.
Who knew Target would be so, well, we know Target's amazing, but it was like so lovely to get out of the city and do that and just have that home connection. I felt that way the minute that you and I were together. It's just an ease. It's an essence. Your heart and your soul is so pure. And it's such an honor to have you here.
It's so nice to be here.
To share. And so many of the women that I have on here and that are sharing their life's experiences, their life journeys, is because you all are inspirations to me. You've been mentors to me. You've guided me. We have a depth of relationship that is so pure. And it continues. It continues to grow deeper and deeper. And all of our personal journeys are different, and yet we have each other. And I think I'm so grateful for that.
Me as well. We've been through so many different, versions of our life together, where we started as young girls, just figuring it out. And then, the highs and the lows and the ebbs and the flows. And we've been there through this entire journey. I mean, you were there when Ava was born.
Yeah.
I remember that well.
I remember it very well too. I was very excited. So we both met. We weren't married. You, at the time, were living with Chris in San Francisco. I was single in San Francisco, and you and Chris kind of just took me in and welcomed me to your family. And I'm so grateful. The memories we have are incredible. And then I remember dating Ben, and I was like, I have to bring him to San Francisco to meet my best friend because we're not going further until he meets Terri. And so to think of all of that and where we're at now, it's kind of where I want to begin and share from the past to where you are here.
Oh, there's a lot to share.
I know. And where would you like to go? I think that there's
so many different,
well, I can at least certainly drop in really quick to what the numerous things that I love about you, but your creative passion. So when I met you at the time, you were going to the Fashion Institute in San Francisco.
Yeah, I was going through a fashion program and sewing clothes. I've lost a lot of that knowledge. I kind of don't know if I can put together.
Well, it was 28 years ago.
That was a long time ago, yeah. But I went through design school, and it was fun. I always have been very curious, and I like to learn, and I like to continually evolve. And that was just something that I was really, and I still am, passionate about fashion. And it was a great experience to go through that and make clothes and have a show, which you came to.
I remember your first fashion show, and it was by far the star. It took it, you stole the show, and it was incredible. And I think also what's important to speak to is that you're so humble. You're just like, oh yeah, well, thank you. It's just, and it's so innate for you, from fashion to cooking to style to owning your own businesses. And also what I love is how you come up with an idea and you just lean into it and you just move forward with it. Where for me, I'm much slower. It takes me a bit, and I'm not comparing. It's just something that really ignites me and inspires me is when you become passionate and you're like, yeah, I'm going to give that a shot. Let me just go ahead and go for it. And you've had such incredible successes from modeling to now owning the agency Arizona. How long have you owned it?
I've owned it since 2007. We've been around since 2004. Wow. So it's been some time with that too. Yeah.
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 And you have two beautiful girls that I love with all of my heart, and they are just thriving. And I feel that they're such incredible. They have been supported by you to be their own selves, to be embodying their authenticity. And I believe all parents offer that for their kids, but they're so different. And how you've been able to hold space for Ava, how you've been able to hold space for Bella and celebrate both of their gifts and just encourage them to continue to spread their wings. I mean, so motherhood is a whole other thing that I am in complete awe of with you.
Yeah. You know, it was just at a meeting before this and we were talking about what a fun stage it is right now. So both girls are in college. It's my first year being an empty nester, which is kind of wild within itself. There's so much emotion kind of tied to that. And I think moms go through so much when their first child goes away to college, because it's like you've raised this being for so long and then they're just out in the world, which is beautiful and heartbreaking and exciting and sad and all of the things and all of the emotions all together rolled into one. And then, you know, being an empty nester, it's like you've had this life for so long of these children connected to you, and then they're off in the world, and then you have a little kind of bit more of a sliver of time, I think, to just start to kind of think about yourself on a more kind of forward level, and then you're kind of navigating through that. So you know, I'm super fortunate that the girls are now kind of where they're at in life, and it's been fun to see them evolve and grow. And I'm so grateful when they do come home. Like, I have an immense amount of gratitude. I'll lay in bed the nights that they're home for holidays and just think about how grateful I am. So I've been feeling a lot of gratitude lately in my life.
Yeah, well, it's understandable because they are thriving and, you know, being with you through the process of the empty nest, especially, I mean, first with Ava and then Bella, your youngest, who's been out. Has it been a year?
Yeah, I mean, this is her first year out. So
so it's been
almost coming to a close. So
yeah. And then Ava's finishing her last year at college.
She graduates in next month, which is wild.
It just goes by so fast. I remember them in your belly, and being at the hospital, and to just see them be so loved and nourished is incredible. I just have deep reverence for motherhood and parents, of course. But I wanted to speak a little bit. There definitely have been beautiful things that have happened, and you've also had some pain points that have arrived for you in your life. And if you feel comfortable sharing a little bit about your ex-husband and what divorce was like, and then sharing a little bit of the additional tragedy that happened after that.
Yeah. So I met Chris, my ex-husband, when I was 17, 18 years old. I was young. I was at a bar, which is not legal. And I met him illegally at the bar. And he was, you know, significantly older for me at that time. And it wasn't like love at first sight. He pursued me and I liked him, you know, as a friend, and we remained connected. And I remember seeing him again at that bar when he came back. He actually was living in California, moved back from the Bay Area and came to tell me that he was moving back from the Bay Area. And I was like, oh, interesting. I'm moving to the Bay Area. So he ended up driving me there and never leaving. So we had a long relationship and two beautiful girls. And, you know, it was, I would say, a comfort to have him in that like process with me of living in a city and I was always pretty adventurous, and it really wasn't, I don't even know if adventurous was the word. I mean, you too, we modeled at a young age and traveled on our own at a young age. And some of it is just blind faith. Like, I think you just roll with it. And I think I've always kind of gone along with the universe and letting it unfold for me. And in most cases, it's in my favor, but we all have ups and downs. And so back to that relationship, yeah, we had been married for some time, 2 girls. For the most part, like, there was a lot of beauty in that relationship, and there was a lot of heartache in that relationship. And it got to a point where, you know, I couldn't continue on with that marriage as it stood. I felt, very alone in a lot of that relationship, and it was scary, and it was scary to leave.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that I did, and I still have love for him. He's since passed. We got divorced, and I remember I was, not to kind of jump, there's just so much to cover, but I was at my office and I got a call from him because we were still friendly. We were obviously co-parenting and we loved our girls. And that's something that we never spoke ill of one another to the children. Like, we knew to operate from a place of what is in the best interest of our children. And so we stuck to that. And as with all of the things that maybe had happened and the hurt that was caused, we still were kind to each other, and we still were friendly.
Absolutely. And I remember that because we would go over and, after the divorce and when Chris got sick with cancer, we went, I went with you and the girls to go visit, and you were just a ray of light in his life. And I know the girls felt the depth of love from both of you.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, like, when you go through that, and everybody has their own experiences, but you can go one of 2 ways. Either there can be just anger and you hold on to that, and I almost looked at it in a way of, like, selfishly, I don't want to feel that. I don't want to have this anger inside of me. And I just chose not to. So when,
very courageous.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I remember I'd been at my office, and I was really grateful to have a successful company at that time. It was a lot of work, but it was not, wildly successful. It was still on its growth trajectory of, like, building, but I was grateful to have something too, to kind of
that was yours,
my energy on, and that was mine. And that brought some independence, because the divorce was, basically I was left with nothing. I mean, I had maybe a little bit of something at the very beginning, but it wasn't enough to sustain us and we weren't living extravagantly. It wasn't enough to sustain me and having the children for even more than a few months, really. So I was grateful to have something that I can grow, which was the business. I just honed in completely to that. So I had long days. I would be with the girls, and then I'd be up at night working. And with that, I got a call from Chris. I remember stepping outside, and he said, I have 3 things to tell you. I am having a child. I am getting married, and I have cancer. And I said, okay, well, let's start with the cancer. Obviously that was the most kind of jarring and also the most important topic to discuss. So he, at that point, it was stage 4 cancer. And as you know, it is cancer. It was colon cancer. It was rapid and quick, and it was heartbreaking. And my girls saw their dad deteriorate, essentially, over the course of, a short period of time. And he went into hospice, passed, and it was a lot to kind of navigate through that. I mean, it's heartbreaking because my girls went through this divorce, which, as a child is traumatic, and you don't understand all of the things that, are involved in that. It's just, you're a young girl, you're a young kid, and your parents are breaking up. So then to compound that with thinking of how are we going to address this with the girls. That was a lot. So it was just a heartbreaking time, them seeing their dad essentially die.
Yeah.
And the process of him dying. So we, after that, went through a process it's called New Song, which is a grieving program, which is amazing. Not in my nature to sit in front of a big group and talk about my emotions. Definitely not my oldest. My youngest, yes, for sure. She could she's great with that. She's like you. So it was a program through Hospice of the Valley that they recommended that we go to, and we all did it. So there's, and I felt kind of weird for me too, because a lot of the parents that were doing it they were still married. So, I kind of thought a little bit of these feelings well, here's this divorced woman coming in. And
you had been divorced for a couple years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I remember you saying that. And you were like, I don't really know if, not that it's not needed, but, there was a separation from you and Chris.
Yeah.
And what I thought was so beautiful is when you said, but I'm going to give it a shot because it's something that I'm open to and the girls are doing it. And I just thought there is your inner resilience and openness to be able to go in and just see how it feels.
Yeah. And I wanted to walk through that process with them.
Yeah.
So, and it's daunting. I think, to be quite honest too, it was a weekly program. The first 2 weeks, we didn't want to be there. We definitely don't want to go back. And it was
both you and the girl, or you and the girls.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you were still, it was very new. It was
quick, new.
Right?
And then, you're in this setting that feels awkward, even though the people that are supportive and part of it and donating their time to be involved in it are so thoughtful. And it really is it's just such a brilliant program. It is walking into that and choosing to put yourself in such a vulnerable state. There's so many other things that you could be doing with your time, and it's on a school night and there's the kids' sports and there's all of these things. But I'm so glad we did it, because where I succeeded with that, I think I failed in trying to pull them through the process because I was scared. I wanted to pull them through all of it as quickly as I could. So, where my oldest would go to school and got back into soccer because it's it was so heartbreaking, but also consuming your thoughts with something else is something that works for me and would work for her. My youngest, Isabella, needs to talk about things, and where she wouldn't want to go to school, and I'd be like, no, this is what you need to do, just coming from what I thought was the best kind of way to get through it. And again, I think I was rushing them through it rather than letting them feel all of those emotions, because it was a lot.
Well, and there's no roadmap. There's not a lot of people that have lost their parents at such a young age. And I don't think it was just to kind of reshift the narrative. It wasn't failing. It was you finding the way. And because you were so open, you arrived and you found the support with the group, with the grieving group. And, what I watched from that, how it unfolded. I mean, even myself, as I didn't know how could I support you and the girls, because I haven't lost anyone close, let alone seeing the girls going through losing their dad. And yet they felt so loved and so grounded and so supported because you had numerous systems in place. You always checked in with them. And even now, they still have therapists that are available for them. And I think that it's something I didn't start dropping into therapy work until my 30s. And I'm so grateful for it, to kind of find my way back to myself. But through the pain, seeing that the girls were given this opportunity and that they still take full advantage of it. They feel heard, they feel seen, they feel valued. There's nothing wrong. Their emotions have purpose. the ups and downs of life, like learning that in their early teens and now where they're, it's just incredible. We talk about it, but I'm like, they're so much more evolved than where you and I were at, because of the support systems that you've put in place.
Yeah.
And navigating such a tough, unknown, uncharted situation.
For sure. And I think like, I mean, I didn't have to go through any of that. I was so fortunate to have, my parents are still happily married and haven't lost a parent, and to think all the things that they've had to navigate at such a young age is heartbreaking, but it's also made them who they are to where they can navigate so much. And that is, I mean, to your point of therapy, it's not something I ever grew up with.
Yeah.
It's not something I did until later in adulthood. And I've told the girls, during this process, and, even with the divorce, like that is something in my mind, like I will always, and even in college, like I will always cover that. You can always call your therapist or have an appointment, or, same thing with me on yoga and other things. I will always cover things that are going to be solid for your mental health, because I think it's so important. And I feel like it's so much harder to be a child or a young adult in this world now than it was for us, because there's so much information coming at them. And there's something to be said for operating a little bit like blissfully blindly through the world, which I think we're fortunate enough to do. Now there's just, again, it's like an overload of information, social media, whatever it may be, like it's just a different world. And I think that's why there is so much more anxiety now, and different challenges that kids have to navigate that, that we did have back then, but I think they're just hit harder with what's out in the world, and it's tough.
It is. But the girls, I mean, I think because mental health and emotional is now at the forefront, it doesn't have the stigma that it had back in our time or our parents' time. Now that it is so socially acceptable and actually encouraged, I'm grateful that this is here and it's arrived, and that we can be so open and vulnerable, because like you said, there is a lot of information that's out there now. But I also think it's information that is giving us deeper awareness and understanding to how wounding and things happen, and also how we can heal, so we don't get stuck in the victimhood, that we can actually be with our emotions, be with our feelings, go through that experience and process it, working with a professional, and then be able to heal and evolve and grow. And that's where the girls are at,
Yeah.
And we are too. And I think all of our journeys are in these different places and phases, and that's what's beautiful about it. But yeah, I appreciate you sharing that part, because it is something that it takes a lot of courage as a parent to offer. And again, I know it's more acceptable, but still knowing that it's not about you, it's offering the support for the girls, so they have the ability to process their emotions, feel their feelings without shame or feeling like they have to hide it.
Yeah.
Because it's just tough.
It is tough.
Tough when you're young, and it's tough when we're older.
I know. And like, it's a little bit easier, I think, when we're older, because we have a different mindset. We've been able to work through things, but also like, life is short. And like, figure your shit out sooner than later so you can enjoy it more. Like, it's short and sweet and beautiful and all the things. And I think when we can get to this space of maybe not getting so caught in our own thoughts or our own heads, and be able to like work through things, we can enjoy everything so much more, whether that's our relationships, with relationship with self, like business. Like, we can find the joy in all of the things in life. It's just the sooner that we can all get to that space, the better. And of course, there's going to be good days and bad days, but
yeah,
it's a short little stint on this earth, and might as well try to make it as good as it can be.
Yeah, absolutely. Something else I wanted to drop into, and I know we mentioned this before we started our combo, because we're going to be doing more of these because there's so much to share. But another thing that I don't want to end without speaking to is really how you've built your financial abundance and independence and navigating from the divorce to where you just mentioned there was only a few months to live off of.
Yeah.
And you have now created, I mean, very healthy sustainability for yourself and for the girls, savings,
knock on wood,
investment properties.
Thank you.
And, you know, I know you really dropped into accounting and, you know, that really opened up a lot for you. And that's something that is, you know, I say it's like your second language, but it's incredible to see not only are numbers, you know, part of your gift, but also how you've been able to continue to hone it and build it. And I think that's incredible to learn about.
Well, it was interesting because when you brought up, like when we kind of touched on that earlier, I thought about, there was a moment in the rental house where I remember just sitting in the kitchen on the wood floor, just crying, like just crying. And much like my personality, like I'll let myself feel those emotions. And then I got up and I was like, all right, I got to get shit done. So it was this, I have no other option. I have 2 kids that I have to take care of. And now I've been fortunate enough to be able to put them through college. Like, and I should have been more thoughtful in the early stages of their life. Like I learned a lot in that relationship and I signed off on a lot and I didn't pay attention to finances. And I just let him do all of that. And I did my thing with raising the girls and it was very separate. Like I was not aware at all of where things were. So it was a quick education, getting involved and then, you know, getting to a position where it could be like, okay, now I need to create a will. I'm like the last thing they have. I don't have much to give them, but I need to create this because that's also something that wasn't in place when their dad died. Like there was nothing set. So it was all, I guess, error on the front end or trial and error, and then just figuring it out and just one thing at a time. So it was like, I need to grow the company. And I was very lucky in a lot of ways too, with where things went. Like, I think I had luck in my favor and also just hard work and the belief that it would happen because there was no other alternative. So grew the company, was able to, with that, then be able to dive into other things and put some money into the market and do all these things that normally I wouldn't have, it wasn't part of my range or scope of life prior to. So it was just learning as I went and, you know, squirreling away and working hard to make things come together. And I love being creative. So I think that kind of goes to, you know, going to, or, you know, starting out and traveling to Europe and really developing a love for food and design. And then, you know, and that's also, my mom's a great cook. So that was also an inspiration too. So then going to design school, then going to culinary school, and doing all of these creative and having all of these creative outlets, which is also, you know, in turn something I do with the agency too. Like it's a very creative business and it's something that I really love and I'm passionate about. And then I have interest in home design. Not that it's like a major thing of mine, but I know my capabilities, and it started out small with 1-bedroom condos. So now I redid this house that we're in for the girls and I. So I love mixing creative things with business and with things that I'm, you know, also very conservative. So I'm not doing anything outrageous. I'm doing things that I think are sensible, but also where I can really utilize my creativity and have passion and enjoy what I'm doing. And I have, you know, more time now that I'm an empty nester. So it's just continually doing kind
evolving
of
and shape shifting and morphing. And it's incredible. I think of these doors because when I set this up, I love these doors. And you got these at an incredible, I mean, you're so wonderful at finding pieces. Were these from Mexico where you got the doors?
Yeah.
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 And I mean, like, they're incredible. Like this table from Offer Up.
Offer Up. Yeah.
And so the way you invest your money in the market and in real estate, but then also design your home, it has such depth of intentionality, but it is resourced in a way that is really attuned with the money that's spent. And I think it's just, I mean, I think
it's my roots. Like I'm just a frugal gal. I can scroll things up and, I love like great things or a great meal but I love good deals. So, I mean, even with like, clothing and design and home design, and I love to find.
You do. There's been numerous iterations of so many of your passion projects from restaurants and from your culinary school. And I think you were talking about doing a magazine with cooking, and you have a garden in here now where it is, I mean, I am lucky to benefit from it. I get your fresh herbs and you have fruit trees that are out there. And I just love watching you in the kitchen. And as we're just speaking this, it's just coming up, but I could totally see whether it's a blog or a magazine or something that you're sharing of how you do find these finds and you can live off your land, but then bring in this beautiful homeostasis within yourself, within your home, within your life, full of creativity, full of passion, and navigating the peaks and the valleys, because you've done it pretty incredibly.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, is there anything else you want to share?
It's hard to hone in on just certain things because it's like, I mean, we all have a lot of crazy things that have happened in life, and a lot of good things and a lot of things that we've learned from. So, it's nice to be here with you, chat it up.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity and being my bestie.
Anytime. I love you.
I love you more.